during the pandemic, I was working in the ER. As I'm leaving, he's on the phone with somebody, and he says, the N-word doctor says I got COVID to whoever he's talking to. He said it so loud, and I took care of him anyway. From 2020 on, I've not been called an N-word more in my life or experienced such blatant racism called a color doc. I did that TEDx. It went over well, and people were like, you should be speaking. That was the unlocking of the key that makes this my first 7-figure year.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Coffee No Cream podcast. My name is Erin Braxton and I am the host of Coffee No Cream. Here on Coffee No Cream, we are unapologetically dedicated to Black women, and we share what I like to call Coffee No Cream moments, those things that happen to us, Black women, in business and in life just because we are Black. So today, I'm super excited because we have Dr. Pamela Buchanan. She is an ER doctor here in the St. Louis area, but not only is she an ER physician, but she is an entrepreneur. She is a speaker. She is a writer. She is a consultant. And we're talking about being an entrepreneur in the month of February. She's going to share with us Coffee No Cream moments. And they're pretty funny and interesting. And, you know, of course, we love those stories. But she's also sharing with us her journey as an entrepreneur, how she went from making a TEDx talk to becoming a regular paid speaker, as well as a consultant in her profession. We love it. We love it. So before we get into it, guys, I want to ask for you to please like, please share, please subscribe. We have the Facebook group. The link is below. All the information is below, links, that kind of thing. So let's just get right into it, and I'll see you in the episode. Welcome, Pam. How are you today?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm excited. I'm really excited to have you on because I have been wanting an MD on for the longest, and I know you've got some Coffee No Cream moments. So I can't wait to get into it. For those of you who are watching us for the very first time here on Coffee No Cream, we share what I like to call Coffee No Cream moments, those things that happen to us Black women in business and in life just because we are Black women. And I'm just going to turn it over to, do people call you Dr. Pam, Dr. Buchanan? What?
So, you know, at work, they call me Dr. Buchanan or Dr. B.
Dr. B.
My friends and church friends call me Dr. Pam.
Okay. Can we call you Dr. Pam?
That's cool.
Okay, Dr. Pam. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Pam. Dr. Pam, tell us one of, and I know you have many, one of your Coffee No Cream moments.
Man, you know, it's hard to pick just one because I'm a Black doctor in America. So in red America, ruby red, so in Missouri. But you know what? During this time since the pandemic, since the whole tenure of this particular administration from 2016, things changed. People used to be more polite and covert. Now it's just out in your face. And so I would say the most glaring Coffee No Cream moments came during the pandemic for me. And that was part of what facilitated burnout for me and then facilitated my foray back into entrepreneurship. But this one in particular, I'll never forget it. And I was like, I got to share two because two of them stick out. But this
Please.
one, okay, this one in particular, I remember, I'm going to start with the one from when I was a resident. A resident doctor, they glamorize it on Grey's Anatomy, but it's the most holistic time in a doctor's career. It's the time after you graduate, but now you have to train in a hospital under other doctors. And so you work 30-hour shifts sometimes. It's just, and I recall having some instances where I was both delivering a baby and managing heart attack. So it's impossible. Somehow I'm here. I did it. So yeah. Two claps in a circle. But my mom, we were staying with my mom because our house was getting ready. We were just getting our home. And I was leaving. And as I was leaving, my mom is a person from Mississippi, civil rights activist. She did some sit-ins and they left Mississippi because there were lynchings. All right. And so as I was leaving, My mom says, don't let the crackers get you down. I was like, Mom, that's racist. And I was like, she was like, okay. And she was just very unapologetic. I remember it so clear. I get to work. I'm working in the hospital. The ER is busy. And in particular, an older white gentleman had a car crash because he had a heart attack. And he came into the ER and he was in a lot of pain. Maybe he was in his 70s, 80s, something like that. And I'm a young doctor, fairly new. And I go into the room and I order morphine and oxygen. He gets relief. His pain goes away. And it's me and the nurse. I remember she was a fair-skinned African-American woman. The man grabbed my hand after he got the medicine and he just stroked it like this. And he said, "You're the nicest nigger I ever met."
Wow.
Right. And
Wow.
I was so shocked. I was like, did I hear what I heard?
You heard
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And the nurse, she was pushing the meds into his IV and I was worried about her. She turned so red. And as I grabbed her by the hand, I finished up and I was like, you probably need to find another patient. I wanted to find another patient. I went out and looked to see if some other doctor could take this over on this particular day.
Did you?
Filipino doctors, no white doctors. So I had to finish. And so how do you keep going with that?
Uh-huh.
He was, okay, it's my responsibility. I'm legally liable for him. And so I had to come to that reality.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought about his era. For him, that was a compliment.
Right.
He would come up in a time where there were good N words and
Oh
bad
yeah.
N words.
Oh yeah.
This is my N word. And it's no excuse, but I just continued to take care of him. And I got to say, that's just one time in the beginning of my career, but that was not the only time.
Let me ask you something. There's good ends. There's good blacks. We talked about that a little bit on another episode. Do you think his age made it more digestible to you? Do you think so? Or do you feel, yeah, I'm just curious.
It was revolting.
Mm-hmm.
I could not believe it. I didn't digest it at all, but I knew that I was in self-preservation mode. Like, I'm not going to make this guy mess up my career.
Oh,
you know?
done. Yeah.
Yeah. I had kids to take care of. I needed to make this six-figure salary, so I wasn't going to mess it up.
Mm-hmm. So what'd you say to him? Did you say anything? Did you find another doctor? You didn't find another doctor.
There was nobody. I said, sir, that's not the language you use currently, but I'm glad you're feeling better. And I continued on.
All right. And let me ask you, because, we're both from St. Louis. As a kid, I was called the N-word all the time. I don't know if I ever discussed this on this podcast. From the first grade, N-word, all the time. I lost my thought. What was I going to say?
Perimenopause moment.
Girl, right? Was that the first time that you had experienced that?
At work.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that at work, I don't know why. It was naive. Okay.
Yeah.
But if I fast forward to current times, and this one will stay with me forever.
Mm-hmm.
But during the pandemic, I was working in the ER. I was an hour outside of St. Louis in a rural area, and they really needed help. So the premiums they were paying were ridiculous. I was making super good money.
Mm-hmm.
And this was during the pandemic. It was, every room was full. And these were COVID deniers, staunch COVID deniers. You come in gasping for breath saying, I don't believe in COVID. It's not COVID. It's pneumonia. Anything else. This man in particular, he was, a disheveled looking type of Caucasian male, just get a stereotype in your head from a movie. And he was that.
Okay.
And
not of the urban parts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And so, I come into the room, I introduce myself, I'm Dr. Buchanan. I had his test results in hand. I was like, sir, your test for COVID is positive. He says, I don't have COVID. You have COVID. And I was like, and for a minute I said, no, sir, the test, I'm just being professional. The test say you have COVID. And we went around a couple times like preschoolers, and I was like, this is ridiculous. And I would say, sir, the treatment is remdesivir, and this is what we're going to do. And as I'm leaving, he's on the phone with somebody. And he says, the N-word doctor says I got COVID to whoever he's talking to. He said it so loud, the whole ER heard it.
Wow.
And the ER, like all the nurses, like, And I'm like, okay, calm down. Not my first time.
Right, right, right.
And everything was fine. I was like, we got to keep pushing. They were just outraged. And I was like, let's, gotta keep going. And even the patient in the trauma bay who was having a heart attack, he's like, I was like, I remember that in particular because he was related to one of the nurses. But yeah, that's what that man did. And the nurses are like, how can you be so calm? I was like, not my first time.
Yeah.
And I took care of the patient. I had to readjust to myself. I had to call out my biases because understand, I don't like him at this point. I put my biases to the side.
Yeah.
This is how I check my biases. And I wish other people of other races would check their biases like I do. And I took care of him anyway. And he was in a bad shape and he was dying.
Mm-hmm.
And so I saved his miserable life. And then as he was leaving, now he could talk better. He said, sorry, I don't normally talk like that. That's not me. And I said, sir, let's be real. That's absolutely you. It
That's
is
what
how
you
you
said?
talk.
You
Yes, I
said that?
did. I said, that absolutely is you. That is how you talk. Do better. Now, in our hospital system, there's two Black doctors, me and the hospitalist.
Uh-huh.
And,
Uh-huh.
and so now he was leaving the ER, going up to the floor. And the hospitalist that day was my friend who was Black.
Uh-huh.
And she called down to the ER and she's like, what did you just send me? And I was like, what the hell? She's like, this patient. And the first thing he does is call me an N-word. And it talks
What?
about the N-word doctor in the ER. And she said, I had to tell him, girl, but I told him the N-word doctor saved your life today.
What?
And so, yeah, he said that he's not normal like that, but he goes and does it the next chance he could at the other Black doctor.
Yeah, I had a client whose husband was in and out of consciousness in a stroke or I don't know what was wrong with him. He was a very sickly man. And he said that. He didn't say the N word, but when he was in and out of consciousness, he was like, he told his son that it's not that I'm racist. I'm just, I'm just uncomfortable around Black people. And then she comes and tells me, and I'm just like, yeah, is the hospital the excuse? Is the illness the excuse? I mean, there's always an excuse for,
I almost can respect that though, because he's calling out that I am uncomfortable. And you're uncomfortable with what you don't know and
Yeah.
don't understand.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so important that we coexist.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I grew up with racial stereotypes of white people because, let's face it, my parents had no trust of them based off of what they'd gone through in their upbringing.
Yeah.
And could you blame them?
Yeah.
The song Strange Fruit, that's real life for them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, can you imagine seeing that?
My family too is from Mississippi. My dad's parents were sharecroppers, and they moved. My dad's like 82, so they moved. They moved to St. Louis. I think maybe he doesn't know exactly, but maybe he was around 5 years old. But yeah, I mean, you have to escape that. I mean, you just have to leave it, because you're always going to owe and stuff like that. So I didn't talk to them so much about it, but I think about the generations, like, and we think about the way white people are raised, and we're raised with the same, not the same, but with family, parents, grandparents who have had less exposure, interaction. I mean, my grandmother would say the craziest shit. And me and my sister would just crack up. It was so ignorant, some of the stuff that she would say about white people. And my mom would be so irritated because she was really trying to, like, raise us not to be that way. And we didn't absorb it. We just knew grandmother was that way. You know what I'm saying? But she had her reasons. I mean, she was born in 1916. I mean, the stuff they saw that we may see. We may, but we haven't seen up until this point, when I even look at the way my dad interacts with white people, and
I don't know.
Yeah.
What's old is new, and what's new is old. Is they talk about Mississippi in this last year had hangings. Can you believe that? I didn't, this day and age. Just the meme that was put out about the Obamas.
Yeah.
So the regression is real. I have never been doctor 20 years, all the way up until like 2020. From 2020 on, I've not been called an N-word more in my life or experienced such blatant racism called a color doc. It's really, it's evident, and you cannot tell me there's not a common thread.
Oh, it definitely is. And, I'm not a doctor, but, when this administration got in the first time, I felt like just trying to ride an Uber in LA. It happened multiple times. People are more emboldened. It's like, I don't know, Uber driver, why you want to talk to me and try to goad me on about like he won and what do you think? I don't want to talk to you about this, because when that happened, I turned off CNN and didn't turn it back on for 6 months. I could not believe it,
Go ahead. I mean, my job is to see people, all the people, and these people in rural areas. And so imagine I worked the day after this last election, and the nurse was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't think you would come. I thought you'd be too upset." What? Why are we saying this? And I go into patient rooms, and every patient, it seems, the majority, quite honestly, no exaggeration, have on Fox News. And I walk in, and they go, this one elderly patient said, she had to lose. It had to be that way. You understand it, don't you? I was like, sir, how is your blood pressure? Your blood pressure is a little bit elevated, and you've got a headache. So I'm concerned about the possibility of an aneurysm. We're ordering an MRI. I'm like, what we're not about to do is have you talk to me about this while you have a whole medical emergency. No.
They're worried about the blood pressure. I'm not worried about that.
I mean, his blood pressure's up in the 200s with a headache. I was like, I got to get you to the scan stat.
Oh my God, that's awesome. So, I talk to a lot of Black women in corporate America, primarily, right? Who've been in corporate America, who are dealing with what's going on in corporate America. But what you deal with is a whole nother animal, right? Especially being an ER doctor, right? And it's just, how do you get your mind right, after you've had these interactions or how do you level off so that you can do your job, right? I'm asking you this because, the women I've been talking to, we're dealing with microaggressions, and, we're supposed to not be behaving like that. There are rules, there are policies in office. When you're dealing with the public and they're coming in talking to you, there's not that, I mean, there might be, but I mean, they're not going to put them out because they called you the N-word. So I'm asking because maybe you have some tips or some advice on what you do to get your mind right to deal with this that is just blatant.
You're right, because, I call them micro and macroaggressions, really. So the microaggressions are oh, what kind of hair is that? My father's an exporter of weave.
They said that to you?
I've had it. I got Dr. Golly. My father exports, and I was like, okay, well, and that's the micro, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, and the macro is the blatant N-word colored. Or I had a patient say, I heard there was a Black doctor here. I thought it was a man. Like being a male Black doctor would have been a little better for him to swallow. But he said, I guess I'll let you see me anyway. I'm like, sir, it's the ER. Either you in extreme pain or dying or you're not. And so I saw him, I treated him, and he had a good outcome. And he was like, I'm so glad I let you treat me. You seem right smart. Like a lot of things wrong with that sentence. You let me treat you.
Right.
I seem right smart. He was an old man. And so how do you deal with that? Number one, I always admit to myself, because at first I used to wonder, like, did I hear that right? Did I take it the right way? No, I call it out. I was like, that was racist. So I'll walk out the room into myself and I'll say, well, that was racist, because name it. Right.
Yeah.
And then I also talk to myself and I say, how do I really feel about that? And I let myself feel what I feel, before I go into any other room, I feel it. I was like, I'm pissed off about that, and then I go, what can I do about that? Or is there anything that needs to be done about that? Because this is a patient. And so there's no real governing body to deal with a patient.
Yeah.
There have been times where it's come from colleagues, and you know what? I'm going to report that every time.
Okay. You
Okay.
want to tell
But
us about that?
I will. But when it comes to a patient, all you can do is educate. And I always do. And they always look like, I didn't mean it like that. And they always go, you know what? My best friend's cousin is black.
You know what?
You know what? I sit them down. I look at them eye level. Or sometimes, guys, for the power dynamic, I'm standing and they're sitting. And I say, sir, the
Wow.
way,
Yeah.
the way in which you express yourself was inappropriate. Because I have to go hyper intelligent on them. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
this N word is way smarter than you ever imagined. And, I'll just correct them and say, it was inappropriate to say that you would let me see you, because it was like you came to the ER and either you're having an emergency or not. Also, the term color is outdated and offensive. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean nothing better. I like black people. Of course. And so, I'm having this conversation. I can say this is why I cut my work in the ER now. It's really a big part of my burnout. So I,
Hmm.
I would say if I have a full week is 3 shifts, at least once a week, I'll have some type of macroaggression. Every time I go to work, there's a micro. Every time. Every
Wow.
single time, there's a micro. But the macroaggressions, uh, you know,
I just can't even believe. I knew you had some, but I just every single time. And to think about, where we are. When I went to college in 1992, I'm aging myself. 1992, I went to Mizzou. And you're sitting in class in Columbia, Missouri with people who were raised on all over the state who have never seen black folks aside from, like the Cosby Show or whatever. They've never been in presence with black people. And I'm sure you're getting a lot of those types of people where they just do not have the interactions. So the,
yeah,
the
it
ignorance
blows my
level is
mind.
astounding, like
If
astounding
I,
level.
you know what? It just blows my mind that there are still people who have not seen black people. When I thought about it, as I'm working in rural areas, I'm like, I can see how it happens because these people are poor and they stay in their areas and they don't have a car that can go to the urban areas. It won't
Right.
make it. So they
Yeah.
just stay to themselves in their communities. So I remember in particular seeing this little baby. Maybe she was 2 and she just looked at me the whole time gawking like,
Yeah.
and her mom says, I'm sorry, she ain't never seen a black person before. And the baby just wanted to touch my cheek.
Hmm.
And I was like, does she even watch Doc McStuffins? I mean, you seen the cartoon or whatever? But no, she really had no exposure. Most of the white children that I might see in the ER in the rural areas, they at least watch Doc McStuffins. And
Right.
some of them called me that, like, are you Doc McStuffins? I'm like, yeah, it's all right if you giggle. It would only tickle a little. I'm like, yeah, I'm Doc McStuffins.
You know what though? In the flip side of that, um, we do have this. I'm not going to say it's the same, but similar when we talk about black people because a lot of black people haven't had interactions with white people because we choose not to have interactions with white people. We stay in our neighborhoods. We don't go out. We don't try to. We do have that, and I'm, that's not just us. I think that's just people tend to kind of gather amongst themselves. You go to New York City and you think, oh, it's the most cosmopolitan city ever. People grew up there, born and raised there. They do not leave there. They do not go anywhere. So when you come into contact with them, somebody's like, "Are you from the country?" I'm like, "No, sir. No, I'm not from the country." The first time I went. So I think that's just um it's just what people do. But yeah, especially here, because in Missouri, you got what? St. Louis, Kansas City, Columbia. I mean, and maybe, some of these smaller towns where some of the universities are, where they will get some diversity. I don't know. I don't really mess around in Missouri anywhere other than St. Louis or, a major city or whatever. So yeah,
There's some sundown areas. There's some sundown areas.
oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And I just used to make that drive to Columbia, and it was quick because it was like what, an hour and 20 minutes or something like that. It was quick, but yeah, yeah. Okay, so So I wanted to pause right here to share with you that I'm finally launching my small business cohort. This is a community where we're going to have a small, tight-knit group of Black women. I'm talking 6 to 8 women max, where we are going to get you from your corporate job to your own thing in the span of 10 weeks. For those of you who are listening who know that you want to get yourself out of corporate into your own thing, you know exactly what you want to do. You just don't feel like you have the support or the information that gets you from one to the other. This community is for you. It is not for looky-loos. It is not for people who are unserious. It is for women who need, Black women who need community, who are looking for community and upliftment and support as they navigate the entrepreneurial journey. Now, yeah, this is a paid community, and it's paid because when you pay for something, you show up differently. I want people who know what they want. I want to create that community, that camaraderie that only Black women have with each other, where you can let your guard down, where you can feel free to express yourself, where you can get the tools and support that you need to get you where you want to go, that me and many other Black women didn't have. We learned from trial and error, more error, sometimes almost to the point of ruin, but we lifted ourselves back up and we got ourselves down the road to find success in being Black business owners, being Black female business owners. If this sounds like something you want to do, or you vibe with me and you want to join us on this journey, please visit coffeenocream.com/community. Answer a few questions. You'll learn what you need to know about the community and the price there. And if all checks out, you'll book 30 minutes with me and we'll talk about it. I'm vetting because I want the right people. I want serious people. I know that community is everything. Building in isolation is hard. It's lonely. It delays the process. It causes you to make mistakes that sometimes you wouldn't make if you just could talk to people about it. Not your friends, not your family, other people, like-minded people who are doing the same thing. So where I lack, I'm going to bring in experts and share with you how we're going to get you from toxic corporate into your own thing in this 10-week close-knit, tight community of Black women. And it's going to be a beautiful thing. So I can't wait to see you there. coffeenocream.com/community. Now let's get back to the show. One of the reasons I wanted to have you also on is because in the month of February, we are talking about entrepreneurs and Black women going that direction because of what's going on, you know. And I want just to give you a moment to explain, yes, you're a doctor. Yes, you're an ER doctor, but you're also entrepreneurial, and you've stepped out and you're dabbling in different areas as it relates, I guess, to medicine as well. But can you tell us what it is you've got going on, what it is you do? And then we're going to get into like the hows and what led you there.
So now I don't work as much clinically as I used to. I do maybe one ER shift a month now, because the majority of my income comes from speaking and doing workshops and consulting. So when I was going, that pandemic took a lot out of me. Mm-hmm. Here's the perspective. When you're working in ER, and the one I work, maybe once every few months, I'll pronounce somebody dead, and it will affect me, But think about, I'll have one shift during the pandemic where 5 people die. That was probably one of the worst shifts. Yeah. And so you're processing that. And when somebody dies, the way I process it and the way I think about it, I wonder, did I do everything I could do? Okay, was this my fault? Did I remember? And I go through the whole thing. Did I remember to do all the things? And during COVID, it was so fast. It's like, did I remember? And, then you go back Monday night quarterbacking going like, oh, they changed the guidelines now. And if I would have done what they said, all these things, really emotionally taxing. And I got burned out. And I was like, I'd rather do anything. I really was looking at buying a Chick-fil-A. I would rather make chicken sandwiches all day. Right. Until I found out that I couldn't make enough money at a Chick-fil-A, but I, to sustain my lifestyle. And then I bought another franchise, a mental health franchise. And I thought that was going to be the answer. That thing almost bankrupted me because that's when I learned how insurance sucked. And how, at one point, one of the insurance companies was $200,000 in arrears with me. So like they owed me that from services rendered by the people who I employed. And so I'm having to cover payroll without getting paid.
Yeah.
So then I realized that wasn't going to be it. So, am I really an entrepreneur? Can I do it? I had to get out of that situation. But that situation brought me to doing a TEDx. I did a TEDx because the marketer who worked with the franchise said, you'd be really good at that. I never thought about it. I did that TEDx. It went over well, and people were like, you should be speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, okay, let me figure this out. And so right after that, I began to figure it out. I got a speaking coach. I invested in, learning what you need to be a speaker, getting a guide. And I think that's the number one mistake people make. They don't get somebody to show them the way. And then I learned, how do you even go about getting speaking gigs? And then once you speak, people ask, do you consult? I'm like, what is that? Because all consulting is long form speaking or a workshop, just drawing it out and making a framework. So I figured that out too. And before you know it, it's a full blown business.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did was I reverse engineered. I was like, if I'm going to make enough money to replace my income as a doctor, what will it take? Because I started to see, once you start speaking, how much are these people paying? So when you do virtual talks, they pay $2,000-$3,000. I'm like, $2,000-$3,000 to sit down and talk with you like I'm talking with you for an hour. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And then because I'd done a TEDx, I found out that the floor for my long form, my keynote speeches was like $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a few of those. And as you get better and as you get higher marks, you can raise your prices. And before you know it, I was like, this is replacing my income. And the average ER doctor makes, at least $300,000 or $400,000 a year. And from there, you just keep growing. As you meet a certain level on the one thing, then you meet people. You get in this room, you get in that room.
Yeah.
It's a process. And so I had the pleasure of getting into the room with these other physicians, a room I would have never been in had I not started climbing in these different circles. And they were like, we have this group, and to be in this group, it was expensive, $40,000.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid to join it, but I joined it. These people, it blew my mind. They teach how to make non-clinical income through digital tech consulting. And that was the unlocking of the key that makes this my first 7-figure year.
Wow.
And so just that is how it goes.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a process. And people will tell you all the glory about, oh, I wanted this. But nobody talks about the losses. Because here's the thing. If you're an entrepreneur, you will lose way more than you win.
Absolutely.
You will lose a lot, and you might lose everything before you win. I don't think the commander-in-chief is a good example, but he's had a lot of bankruptcies. He's had mostly losses. But that's a different whole breed because he's got the complexion for the connection, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But for us regular folks, you will have, like, for instance, my process for getting conferences, sending out cold emails and LinkedIn requests. Mm-hmm. I probably get 100 no's or 100 no responses. And this month, that's the cadence. I commit to sending those out because it's a numbers game. And this month, it's like things come home to roost where, 1 week, in this one past week, 3 speaking engagements. And I think the total is going to be around 30,000 for all of those combined.
Yeah.
And a workshop. And a Forbes, somebody wrote me up in a Forbes article.
Love it.
And that's just all from being consistent on LinkedIn. I feel like LinkedIn is the best place to grow on a social media platform if you're doing a business. Also, it's not as social media driven as the other ones because I don't enjoy social media. I actually hate it. And so that's my entrepreneurial journey. I just would say my thought process is I think that you should not depend on the job. I think we all should have some type of side hustle, right?
Absolutely.
So because you see how they dropped these 300,000. And then even in medicine, I think every physician, because the fastest growing type of doctor that burns out and has high rates of depression and suicide is a Black female doctor. And for those reasons that I just mentioned, because all doctors are burned out from the workload, from the mistrust that people now have of doctors, from EMR and writing notes all the time, and just it takes a lot out of your family. So you take that of all the stuff that any type of doctor will feel, and that's not enough. You go to work and you deal with microaggressions and macroaggressions, racism. Oh, and you're a woman, sexism too. Because this is what I get. I will have an emergency situation in the ER. I'm writing orders. I'm saying I need, I might say, I'm gonna say 20 milligrams of labetalol. Right, that's a blood pressure medicine. And the nurse would go, Doc, you really want 20 milligrams? Questioning my authority. And I'm like, yes, I want 20 milligrams. The blood pressure is really high. He can take it. All right, Doc, just really undermining me.
Wow.
So that happens in particular. A white colleague, a white male.
I was going to say white male doctor or nurses.
Nurse, white male nurse.
Mm-hmm.
He made no bones about it. He really didn't like my presence there.
Yeah.
And so we had a patient come in, and the EKG comes in. I look at it, and I was like, oh, well, this looks like it's abnormal right here. And he was like, no, I don't see anything. I don't think it's there. I said, I'm the doctor, and it's there. So we just pressed forward, and we did the orders as I wanted to do them. And then the labs came back later. So in this particular situation, you don't have time to wait on labs. You have to treat them. We say time is muscle. You got like 30 minutes to save their heart. And so I was like, no, I see it. It's there. Let's go. And then afterwards, the labs come back, and then he relooked at the EKG. He's like, it is there. I was like, I am the doctor. That is why they call me doc. I was like, stay in your lane and know your place. And I had to just say it that blatantly that day. Damn. But I was like,
and what was the response? I love these stories. Like,
for the first time, he had humble pie. He was like, I'm sorry. I was like, somebody could have died.
Yeah.
I was like, if you don't trust me, then keep it to yourself.
Right.
And so, yeah, him, that guy right there, he's going to end up in a book or something. I know I got to write by him.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. I mean, in that alone, just having somebody's life in your hands, I can't even imagine just the level of stress of that. I don't know if you thought, I don't know if you even thought forward to that when you were like, I want to be an ER doctor. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't even predict how something's going to feel, Yeah, that's stressful. But let me just circle back on the entrepreneurial thing, because I think this is really front in a lot of people's minds, because there's a lot of fear involved with putting yourself out there, just, because you're going from, practicing medicine to public speaking to consulting to putting yourself out there to really like marketing, selling yourself, LinkedIn connections. Can you talk about how if you ever had fear? I think we all have fear about something, but I would assume so. And how you get past it to be able to say, I'm going to send 100 cold emails every single month or week or whatever you just said you did, to make sure that I am doing what I set out to do.
It is a aspect of a mindset shift. I am scared all the time. Mm-hmm. I am scared I was having a come apart yesterday. Like, is this going to be enough? And I'm talking to my guy, and he's like, babe, you got 3 engagements this week. Everything's fine. That's good money. Plus you have these and you have that. But I was like, you're always wondering, is it enough? Everything, am I doing enough? And you wonder, is this thing going to work? Am I going to be able to pay the people that work with me? Is it? That's business. Mm-hmm. All right. I hear that people who run multi-million-dollar companies still have that kind of fear. And I think that fear, when it goes away, then you are in a precarious position. You're in a bad position. I know when I take it and extrapolate that as a doctor, every time somebody comes in and it's emergency and they're getting off the ambulance, I'm scared. My heart is beating fast. I'm stressed. I'm like, what must I do to save them? And it's been 20 years. It's never going to go away, and that's fine. I think that's good, because there's now research that there's some types of stress that are good. Now, it's a mindset shift when it comes to stress. Stress is there to protect you. Your fear is there to protect you in the primitive sense, as if You experience the same kind of stress you would as if you were chased by a saber-toothed tiger, a bear in the woods. And so you get an increased cortisol level, so increased levels of energy and increased adrenaline so that you can run faster, jump high, escape. Your mind does the same thing where you're like, I got to talk to this person about my business. It wants to protect you from rejection, which feels similar to some type of assault. But the mindset shift is, it will hurt, but it won't hurt me.
Yes.
And so, go out and collect 100 no's. And then after a while, they dissipate. It doesn't feel like anything. You don't take it personal as badly as you did on that first no. And I go, like, if they didn't want me for this conference, maybe they weren't ready this time. And that's happened where, like, in one instance, I didn't get it, but then later I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody did tell me that a long time ago, because I think we struggle with sales so much and selling of ourselves. And then as Black women, we know that we work harder. We had to push harder and do more to get into these spaces. So you're dealing with that. So there's a lot of validation issues, a lot of self-worth issues that you deal with. So the rejection can be...
I would say,
yeah.
I'll jump in here because you said sales. One of my major coaches gave me a mindset shift that you're not selling, you're serving.
Yes.
And so I stopped trying to sell anything. I don't sell anything, really. I don't really do a hard sell. Here's what I do. I, operate in purpose. And so purpose is the best of what you have to give others. So what is what I have to give others? How can I be useful? How can I be of service? Lastly, what problem do I solve?
Right.
Right. And so if there's a problem that I solve and there's a person who has this problem, then I think it's wrong of me not to offer them the solution. Right. And that mindset shift has helped me a lot because I don't like selling. And so I give out free content. I write a Substack. I post on LinkedIn and write LinkedIn articles and about start doing YouTube videos to give away what I know for free. And people worry like, oh, if I give it away, then what is it that I have to sell? You're wrong. Serve. And because in this day and age, nobody needs your information. We could all type it into ChatGPT. What they need is your one-to-one human connection. Mm-hmm. They need your implementation of the idea. They need you, the human. And so just get out there and serve. And then you will start attracting. Because right now, I'm getting into a position that's a lot more comfortable than where I used to be, to where I'm attracting people in my DM saying, can you speak? Can you do?
Yeah.
And that's a lot better than please hire me.
Yeah.
Here's a big mistake I see people making when they want to start a business. They go, I want to start a business. I'm quitting my job. I get that you hate that job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an ER doctor, and guess what? I was hating my job too. I'm talking about visceral. I don't go quit this job. Listen, I'm making high six figures. I got kids. They're in private school. They live, I'm not taking them the cardboard life from the glamorous life. I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So the day that I go, I can't hardly do this anymore. I have to make a plan. Your job should be your first investor in your business. And so what did I do? I cut my expenses to the bare minimum. I do too much, too much movies, too much shopping, too much whatever. And then let's pare down our vacation for this year. Maybe we don't go somewhere out of the country. Maybe we just go to someplace in America and make it simple. And that's what I did. I cut my budget so that I had wiggle room to try this thing.
Right.
And then from there, I tried it. You make a little bit of money. You go, okay, because you have to test it. It's a test kitchen.
Yep.
You go, does anybody want this? And you throw it out there and you get a couple nibbles. You're like, okay, it gives you a little bit more of a dopamine hit, a little bit more faith, and I can go on. And then you go through your series of hundreds of no's, and you will. And then you get a yes that cancels out all the no's. I remember the first time somebody paid me $10,000 to speak at a conference. I was like, I sat at the computer after the meeting like, that happened.
It happened.
Because I'm used to people, taking advantage of doctors because they say we're altruistic. And they think we should do everything for free. Man, I could say I spoke at conferences at least 50, 60 times for free.
Wow.
All right? At least. It's what doctors do. A lot of doctors speak for free. A lot of, different church things and blah, blah, blah. I've even been paid by some churches now. Good money. I was like, oh, y'all got money.
Of course they have
Hallelujah.
money.
Hallelujah. You know? Uh, and so I've been paid. So then once you do that, you get the faith for it. But understand, you don't quit your job. You make a plan, you reverse engineer, and then you draw down. Meaning, I went from full time to 3/4 time. That's called a 0.75. And
Mm-hmm.
then after that, I said I can only work half time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then as you replace one income, you draw down one,
Yep.
all right? And so then I got to the point where I'm making half time. I'm like, I gotta draw down more because I'm getting many conferences,
Yeah.
and so now I'm only working PRN. Listen, here's the thing that people get. What if it didn't work? What if I failed miserably? Guess what? I still got a medical license. I can go back to it.
Yeah.
Guess what? There's a shortage of doctors. There's so many jobs. My phone rings all the time. I don't know how these people have my texts. I'm like, no, I'm not looking for a job. I don't want it. Every day. And so that's how I get rid of the fear for me.
So let me just ask you one. You're talking about the money, the financial part of it. And but let's just go back real quick to the time investment of it. Like, because people will say, well, I don't have time. I don't have
You're right.
time.
And they go, I don't have time to start a business. Your time wasn't near about what mine was. Do you have the gumption? Do you really want it? Because this is how my day looked. So if I'm working in the ER, if I work in the real ER, some of those shifts are 24 hours. And so you have 12-hour or a 24-hour shift, right? And so when you're full time, you're obligated to do 3 a week. And when you do a shift, the next day you're done, meaning that you can't hardly do anything. Recovering from a 24-hour shift, the next day you're sleeping, and then when you wake up, it's like you're walking zombie.
Mm-hmm.
And so yes, there's a lot of time. And so it's a gumption, it's a habit, it's a discipline. And I do it like this. Like particularly on today, I need to do a couple things for my business or I can't go outside. I can't because we wanted to go to the loop and do some things. I can't go until I do these things.
Right.
I write this Substack article and I need to record this YouTube video. Maybe that'll take me a couple hours, but I cannot go until I do those things. It's a discipline. You put an hour while you're working a full-time job, you put 30 minutes minimum to an hour away for this business. And what does that look like? Maybe before you go to work, you spend 15 minutes on LinkedIn connecting with people and commenting, right? And then you go to work, you got to do your regular job, and you get off work, eat you some dinner, relax, but purpose in your heart that what you're going to do at least one money generating activity that day, meaning reach out to someone, something like that. So if you could just spend an hour a day on your business, like 15 minutes here and 45 minutes there, instead of watching Netflix, instead of wasting time, instead of getting on the phone and talking about stuff that doesn't matter, then eventually with those compounding efforts, would you make progress? Yes, you would. You're not going to make as much progress as if you were in the business full time, but you will make progress.
Yeah.
And then you start making progress to the point where you're making a little bit of money on the side that can make it so you can start to draw down in these other activities. And so for me, that's called the power hour. I do the power hour every weekday, meaning 1 hour of focused efforts towards a goal.
Love
For
it.
me, it's speaking. So 1 hour reaching out to speaking decision makers and doing cold emails.
And one more thing I wanted to circle back around to that you had mentioned. You were talking about you found the group that once you got into this group, you were like, explain the importance of community of like-minded individuals, because we just were kind of talking, because I don't know where I'm going to edit this in, but for those of you who are watching, we kind of stopped and we're waiting on the video to upload. And then we realized, oh yeah, let me record you saying that. We're talking about people who start businesses around here, specifically in St. Louis, and the type of individuals you're running into who may not be thinking on the level that you're thinking at. It's not an easy thing to find like-minded people who are fully on committed to real, not just having a job or a gig, but having a dream, a vision of, talk about the importance of community for you that you found, because you're very much like me. You search for that. You've looked for that. Talk to how that's benefited you.
I don't think that you can have a business without a community of people who are like minded. And most business people do that. They get in groups, they get in masterminds, they have people who do similar things that they can come to for advice. My One of my major mentors said you should have a daily seven and do the same seven things every day. I also follow the guy that wrote that book called The Morning Miracle. And then you think about atomic habits. There's a common theme. People rise and fall by their habits. And so one of your habits should be that you are surrounded by people who are like-minded, other business people. So you want to be around people who are at your level so they can commiserate and keep you going. You want people who have done what you're trying to do in your circle, right? And that's in the beginning. And once you start to get some moniker of success, I think we all owe it to mentor,
Absolutely.
to give some information to people who are several levels back. And so that's what you should create. And so the daily seven, every day you need to move your body. And every day you need to connect with your squad. Every day do a money generating activity. Think millionaire thoughts, meaning that there's positive affirmations, and that's, just a fruit of some non-negotiables for the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Love it. What was your TEDx speech about? I'm going to put it in the link too. Just tell, I mean, in the description.
TEDx is a trip, but I go to the emotional flatline because I remember being in the ER during the pandemic, being and seeing people's, go flatline, like beep when they're losing life. And I said, I feel that way emotionally, just flat, just numb. And that's severe depression. That's something I needed to get help with. And if I'd seen it in you, I'd had you in the psych hospital. I'd had you getting help right away. But for me, I'm like, I'm just tired. I'm
Right.
just working too much. Any excuse in the book. But I wrote about that, and because physicians have a high rates of stress, high rates of depression, even substance abuse, and suicidality. One physician per day dies by suicide.
In
Right?
America?
In
Or just,
America.
okay.
In America. And I had no idea. I was like, that's a lot, because the average
Yeah, it
medical
is.
school class is like 150. So we're losing 2 medical school classes of doctors every year because of how these systems are set up. And so my TEDx was about that and the emotional flatline. And also, I painted a picture of how I grew up as a neurodivergent individual and just how we need to have better access to better mental health for physicians and medical health professionals and for society in general.
I love it. So when you, I'm sure you have different speeches that you do or different talks that you do. Is that generally what you're talking about when you're called upon to speak?
So my signature talk is called the Purpose Prescription, because I believe that purpose is the prescription for burnout. And the whole gist of that talk is talking about how reconnecting to your purpose makes your employees more resilient and more likely to stay in their jobs, so increases retention. And so that's my main talk. I also speak about, self-care, putting your oxygen mask on first. So how healthcare professionals in particular, and a lot of other professions, I find it in nurses, I find it in teachers, take care of yourself first before you try to go and give to other people. You know who else? Ministers. Just not taking good care of yourself, letting yourself fall into disarray and your health. If you would just take care of you first, you'd be better off at taking care of other people. And hospitals need to adapt that for their staff, because we're in a severe physician shortage. 40% of the workforce last after COVID. And we have an even bigger nursing shortage. So we have to take care of healthcare workers better.
So, Dr. Pam, what does self-care look like for you?
For me, self-care looks like discipline and routine. A lot of times people give the misnomer that self-care is a spa day. That ain't going to get it. It's a lifestyle. And so discipline of, I will only do this much. Hard boundaries, because it used to be the hospital would call and say, we need an extra shift. Somebody needs to work. We don't have anybody. And I would jump and I would say, I got to go serve. Not thinking about my family, not thinking about my body. How is this affecting me? Average ER doctor, by some studies, says they die at 57 years old and I'm 50. And so I had to take care of my body better. Even one of our colleagues over the last year died in the call room at the hospital. And you go, okay. And we didn't know if anything was wrong with him. He just died. So I got to take better care of myself. So that means doing a daily routine. I move my body every day. Uh, Work out with a trainer. I eat mostly real food now. When you're in the ER, you beef jerky and Diet Coke,
Yeah.
just trying to get through a pizza, and not really taking care of yourself. No time for a fork and spoon, anything. And so
Yeah.
that's what self care looks like for me.
When you and I had coffee that day and we were talking about being landlords, and I thought about this, because I'm having to deal with some tenant situations right now, and I was trying to explain this to my father about, you can work with them, you can do it. And it's like a boundary for me, like to not work with them and to not deal with it because it's stressful to me. Like even taking just like every little thing in your life that is causing you this stress and anxiety or depression, as you talk about, and putting it and looking at it through the lens of, is this taking away from me, to continue to do this in my life, right? And even with that situation, I felt like this is self-care. You know what I'm saying? This is self-care. Why am I caring about these people's family and
Hmm.
situation more than I'm caring about me and my family, right? I can't deal with this. I'm not going to deal with this because I'm going to be stressed out with this all the time. So just taking every little piece of everything, looking at things in a way like that, which is not the way I would do it when I was younger. I was more like you, like, let me, oh, well, they need it, or, oh, let me try, or let me, when it's causing you a lot of emotions and discomfort and things like that. So, yeah, self-care is, it's a lifestyle, and trying to adopt it into my lifestyle in every single way is, I think, the paradigm shift that we need to make, instead of like, oh yes, like you said, I took myself to the spa or whatever superficial type thing you did.
Need way more than spa day.
Oh hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah. It's
But I do take my spa days.
yes, well absolutely. For a time I was, I mean, and not looking at certain self-care as a luxury. It is a luxury. Up until a while ago, I had a masseuse every 2 weeks, like clockwork. Is it a luxury, or is it necessary? Because the fascia, the moving of the fascia and the tissue and the muscles. I'm sitting there hunkered down over a computer all the time. I'm stressed out. Is having a trainer a luxury? I don't think so. So I think we probably also need to we need to revisit what we think we should be, spending our resources on. I'm not trying to tell anybody how to spend their resources, but I think Black women just deal with so much anyway. I think we need to look at these types of things more seriously, having ways to really, really care for ourselves, put into the routine and into the lifestyle in a way that, yeah, you get your nails done. Yeah, you get your hair done. But what else are you doing? What are you doing for your body? You know?
And I do know that I speak from a perch of privilege. And those things can add up and be expensive.
Sure they can.
But you know what? Simple things are not connecting to nature. Like in my city, you could go walk in Forest Park, and it's been shown that nature, connecting to it, is really restorative. And so, like maybe you can't afford a masseuse. Maybe you can't afford um, some of the things that I can afford. And I get that because there
Yeah.
was a time where it wasn't on the books for me.
Yeah.
But you can go take a walk. Creve Park, all these nice parks, Forest Park.
St. Louis is
And
full of parks. It's all parks.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's lots of parks. And then even if you're not in parks, there's woods, there's stuff. Nature. Go be in nature. That's what I would offer if you're like, I don't have cash for that stuff.
It's true. Over the last couple weeks, we've had this, shit weather, here in the last, and I'm a walker. Like I'm a 10,000 step a day walker. So I'm trying to hit my 10,000 steps. So I go outside to walk. Sometimes I go to the Y when it's super cold, but I haven't been able to walk. I went out and walked yesterday, but it was still a little snow. And I was like tipping around, trying not to slip on a few ice, pockets or whatever. But I feel like I've been kind of down, the last couple of weeks, just because it's cold, can't get out and walk. When you walk, you're looking around. It's very therapeutic, the birds, being in nature. So I'm very much about that life. You're right. And there's just simple things you can do. So, yeah, I appreciate you saying that because that's very, very true. Okay, I'm thinking. Do I have anything else? So I have you.
But you know what? We're friends.
What?
I can always come back.
Yes, you can. Yes.
Because we could ramble on forever like some shows, but we're at the hour mark.
Yeah, we're there. We're there. Yeah, I know. And I probably will have you back. Because you're a good talker. I sat in on somebody's they have a cohort. And they're like, talk about, she just needed me to fill in because she was out of town. It's like, what makes a good podcast guest? I was like, you need to be able to talk, and I want to give you an opportunity. I've asked you questions, but tell people where they can find you, if they want to reach out to you, that sort of thing. So let the people know.
All right. So you can definitely follow me on LinkedIn. It's just my name, Pamela Buchanan, but text the word strong to 55444. And there, you can download my tips on how you can become a speaker. And that's text the word strong to 55444.
Love it. Okay. I'll put all that on the screen. I'll put all that in the description. Well, Dr. Pam, I just want to thank you so much for coming on. This has been fun. You've been a fun guest, very entertaining, very informative, and very much well needed and inspirational, I think, to my viewers. So thank you so much for coming on. And everybody, I guess that's it. And we will see you in the next episode.
Thank you.